और मत पियो देवदास।
क्यों?
कुछ ही दिन हुए पीना शुरू की है, इतनी ज्यादा बर्दाश्त नहीं कर सकूंगी।
कौन कमबख्त है जो बर्दाश्त करने के लिए पीता है? मैं तो पीता हूं कि बस सांस ले सकूं, और ऐसी जगह से उठकर जाने की ताकत नहीं है ना, तभी तो यहां पड़ा रहता हूं, बस देखता रहता हूं तुम्हारे मुंह की तरफ। तो भी मैं बिल्कुल बेहोश नहीं होता, कुछ होश रह ही जाता है। होश से कह दो, कभी होश ना आने पाए।
There, right there, is a masterclass in not just cinematic performance but also auditory performance by the great Dilip Kumar in the 1955 Bimal Roy classic Devdas. Nearly 7 decades after it was released, it remains the absolute gold standard in how any actor should intone their lines. One such young actor who has just discovered how superlative Dilip Kumar's performance was is Vedika Kaul Vyas, now pursuing a career in theatre and movie acting in Mumbai. Vedika was introduced to Dilip Kumar by her mother Kusum, a passionate admirer of not just the thespian but also Hindi cinema of the 1950s and 60s. MCR Offbeat spoke to Vedika to explore how a 21st century actor views a defining performance from the middle of the 20th century and what stands out for her. Vedika Kaul Vyas. Welcome to MCR Offbeat. Vedika, it's a great pleasure to have you.
Hi, thank you for having me.
I just discovered that only recently did you chance upon the great 1955 Bimal Roy classic Devdas. Tell me
I
how
did.
that happened and what were you doing on YouTube that you ended up there?
So I wanted to watch something that I haven't, and I was also speaking to my mom, and she's a huge like movie buff. So I told her, "What should I watch? Can you recommend something?" And she said, "You should watch Dilip Kumar's performances." And the generation that I grew up in, we didn't really grow up watching Dilip Kumar at all. So I thought that maybe it's a good start. Maybe Devdas would be a good start because I come from a generation where we saw Shah Rukh Khan as Devdas. So that's what's fit in my head, like when someone talks about Devdas. So I thought maybe I should start with something where I already understand the story. So I pulled it up and I watched the film on YouTube. I hope that I watched the entire thing because sometimes when a movie is uploaded on YouTube, they take out like certain chunks and maybe the audio is not great. But I think whatever I saw, I could kind of like remember what I had seen as a child in Sanjay Leela Bansali's Devdas. So it wasn't very hard to keep up, but the audio wasn't that great. Um, but yeah, that's. I think I'm just intrigued about Dilip Kumar at this point, and as an actor starting out, I kind of wanted to study his acting and kind of see why his performances were are still talked about in a way. Why we're doing this call, even when the film was made like back in 1955. So I think out of curiosity, I kind of started
Okay.
watching the film. Yeah.
Give me your broad brushstrokes impression of the movie as soon as you started, while you were watching it, and as you wrapped it up.
When I started watching it, it felt like a story of like this old, like, you know how simple lives would be. Like you have a friend, there are two kids, they're friends, and they're having these fights that kids normally do, and like they belong to two different kind of families and whatever. It feels like the story of just of like a Bengali setting, as if I'm reading a book. Um, and I feel like no matter where you are in the world, children are kind of the same everywhere. Like they fight about stupid things, and you
Right.
see these people like growing up. But eventually, like when you go into the film and just halfway you realize that the film is actually very, very sad. Like it gets so tragic,
Yeah.
and I don't think I've seen a film that tragic in like a very long time.
Yeah. It is.
So like it's genuinely like the ending, oh my god, like it's so tragic that I almost had like tears in my eyes, even though like a lot of the times audio and visuals can make like the editing can make someone feel a certain way.
Right.
But I feel like even though this wasn't like great on like just audio, I would say it's still like just that longing and that loss. Um, two people not being able to be together, like you can sense that. Like as a filmmaker, I think Bimal Roy kind of puts that across so well. Like it's so sad, I think. Yeah.
You are in your 20s. I won't reveal your age. You are in your 20s, and the movie was made 70 years ago. So the
Wow, that's
milieu is different, the morals are different, the approach to cinema is very different. Although Bimal Roy was a master at what he did.
Hmm.
What did you, as a very young person, very 21st century person, how did you look at the early 20th century or mid 20th century setting?
I wouldn't use the term slow because I actually enjoy watching shows and films that are like slow paced. I recently watched a show called Ripley.
Yeah,
Um, it's also set in like the 60s in Italy, and a lot of people in my generation felt like the show is very slow. But I actually don't mind that at all because you get to have that moment with the character and you actually get to see their thoughts
right,
versus just something which is very like a show like Friends, which is just mostly lines and like is just going, going, going. And yeah, I feel like a film like that, I didn't mind the slow paced situation of the film at all. But I think you kind of realize like the value of relationships in a way
mm,
versus how relationships are shown now in films.
right,
And it was almost like very raw in the way the characters felt. I think that was a big one because yeah, they actually take a moment, especially like I felt like Dilip Kumar, he actually takes a moment and he feels what he has to say, and he doesn't even move like one muscle of his face without like an intention. That's what I
interesting.
felt. I have not seen any of his other performances, but he doesn't do anything extra. Like there's nothing like how the Kapoors act.
Right,
They're
right,
very like,
yeah,
but he doesn't do any of that at all, and yet his performance has so much depth because so much just resides in his thought and in his mind, and that transformation also as a character
right,
from like beginning starts as a young boy who doesn't really know what he's doing to uh,
right.
unknowingly kind of like rejecting Paru's love and not understanding where she's coming from to literally dying at her doorstep.
Right.
Like, what an arc.
No, it is. No, I'm glad you're noticing these things, and I have. It's not surprising for me that you noticed it because you seem to have that keen eye on that. I'm. I presume this was your first Dilip Kumar film, or you've seen something else before this. It was your first.
No, it was maybe as a kid I might have seen like glimpses if I've ever seen my mom watch them. But as an adult, no, nothing.
No, and what a way to start.
Yeah,
What a way to start.
I'm really glad that the film I picked.
You know what you should do now is perhaps buy a DVD which is cleaner and keep it as part of your collection.
Oh,
Uh,
yes, I should do that.
yeah,
That's a great idea.
the movie was written by a very great writer called Rajendra Singh Bedi, who is considered a towering figure of Urdu literature. Truly a great
Okay.
figure. He also wrote Madhumati, by the way,
Okay.
for Bimal Roy. Again, Dilip
Okay.
Kumar, Bimal Roy, and Rajendra Singh Bedi. I'm mentioning Rajendra Singh Bedi for several reasons, but the most important being, which I want your response on, which is to me an absolute masterclass in performance, not just cinematic performance, but like I pointed out, auditory performance, the way he intoned those lines, the famous scene, "Kaun kam baksh hai jo bardasht karne ke liye peeta hai." Now,
Yeah.
if you see the waves of, uh, if you plot it as an audio, it would be a very interesting visual to me the way Dilip Kumar intones those lines. I think
Mm.
for any actor, to me personally, it should be considered sort of a curriculum to see how to say your lines. Now,
Mm.
Dilip Kumar's specialty was that even some of the most inane lines would sound very profound the way he said it. What was your when you came upon that scene? Because I'm sure you knew beforehand about that scene. It's been very celebrated, and it was
Yeah.
in the new Devdas as well.
Yeah.
What was your first impression when you came upon that scene?
Um, yeah, I think mentally I was going back to the visual of when I saw Shah Rukh Khan's performance in Devdas. And I've seen Shah Rukh Khan's repetition of that line so much that in my head I feel like that line actually belongs to him. But originally, when you see like who's it done by, you realize that it's. I'm just thinking if I was an actor working on Devdas as Devdas, and if I read the line for the first time, because it's such a well written line, it's actually even more difficult to say it. Because either you can say it in a flat way, or you can make it very like as if you're doing some kind of shairi,
Right,
because it's a very poetic line. But I feel
indeed.
like he caught the mood really well, where he's almost like throwing the line away, but in the mood of like a completely internally destroyed, in conflict person. So I think he catches the mood and the sensibility of the line really well. And I don't know with what intention the line was written, but I think his interpretation, I think it all comes down to your choice as an actor when you say a certain line. So, yeah, obviously the way he did it worked
Right.
and was brilliantly done.
Look at the
Yeah.
convergence. Look at the convergence. Bimal Roy, Dilip Kumar, Rajendra Singh Bedi. Now, it these are really the true masters of their crafts in their respective fields. And uh, I harp on this because it's not people do not recognize how brilliantly that scene was done. But you must have seen he starts with a little bit of singing. He was a terrific singer, by the way, Dilip Kumar.
Oh, really?
He was a terrific. He could have been a professional singer. He was that good in some ways.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. Dilip Kumar. I interviewed Dilip Kumar 4 times. I never met him. I interviewed him always on the phone. That too when there was the rotary phone, which I don't even know if you know what a rotary phone is.
No.
And I mean, I had asked him about these things, and it's interesting that even when he spoke, his cadence was that of a singer. That's why he sounded the way he sounded. Uh, coming
Mm,
coming to that scene as a young actor, I'm trying to put myself in your shoes. Somebody
mm.
who's trying to make a career in Bombay, in theater and movie acting. How do you look at something like that from your perspective. Tell me whatever comes to your mind.
You mean particularly the scene?
Scene or the movie, it could be anything. I mean, it could be even Vajanti Mala's performance. I mean, it could be anything from that movie.
To me, what always strikes with anyone's performance is this with the simplicity with which someone does something is when someone can make you feel something without doing too much. Because in real life, uh, you know, we're so used to when I used to look at 60s and 70s movies from the 60s and 70s, I would think that it's so dramatic in the way actors express. But when you watch a film like Devdas, you realize that like nobody's really like overdone anything,
Right.
which is what makes it more interesting for me as an actor. That I want to see someone express what they're feeling, what they're intending to do, what they're thinking, what they're trying to say with like very subtle facial movements, because that's what we do in real life as well.
True.
Now, obviously, some people are a little bit more expressive than some of us, but that's what really stands out for me, even as a filmmaker. uh, if someone tells a story in a subtle manner versus making it too complicated and still putting their point across, I think for me that's a job well done.
Right. You know,
Um, yeah,
no, Dilip Kumar, you pointed out, he was easily the most understated actor of his generation and perhaps any generation after and before. I think it was a conscious choice. I had asked him about that, and he, he he had this habit of taking long pauses. So, and this was on the phone. So he took a very long pause, and I said, "Yusuf साहब आप हैं या चले गए? क्योंकि आप even by your standard, your pause was very long." He said, "नहीं मैं बिल्कुल हूँ, मैं सोच रहा हूँ." And then he said whatever he said. Uh,
hmm.
the point is, he said, being understated is easy because you are in front of camera. Everything is automatically enhanced when you're in front of
Hmm.
the camera. Even a little twitch is picked up by the camera. So
Yes,
it's not necessary for you to overstate your case. I think that was his
yeah.
approach. How do you, as a young actor, approach something like that? So let's say there was a female version of Devdas with you as
That actually
Devi.
did cross my mind. That
Devi,
actually
let's say you're playing Devi. Go.
that actually did cross my mind after I finished watching the film. I was like, because I was reading up about Suchitra Sen, if I'm not wrong. She
Yes,
played Paro, and Vaijayanti Mala played Chandramukhi.
Chandramukhi.
And there was like, they were like casting, they were thinking who to cast, and everybody was saying no to Chandramukhi's character and this and that. I was thinking in my head that if I were to given a choice between like Paro and Chandramukhi, who would I pick? And then I was like, wait, I'm someone who would pick Devdas.
Yeah, there you go.
And yeah, like totally. Um, but I think that's exactly how I think as well.
Mhm.
Like that's how I am as a person too. I feel like sometimes you just need to like do enough. I don't
Right,
believe in like overdoing anything. Um, if I think this much needs to be done, then I'll do only that much. If
right,
this much needs to be said, I'll say only that much. And then I'll leave it to that. And I feel like who you are as a person and how you think about your life and your perspective towards it always reflects on the way you're going to approach your craft.
right,
And I feel like I would also approach my craft in a way that like I don't think I would do anything that doesn't like that's more than necessary.
right, right,
If I have to put my point across with just like a nod of the head or like looking from here to there or like expressing something in my eyes, I'll do that instead of actually saying something because that's how I am as a person too.
right.
I try to like use less words.
Indeed,
Yeah,
indeed.
yeah.
Let me put you on the spot, and you can turn it down if you want. There is no problem. This is a recorded conversation, so I'll cut it out. Think of me as Bimal Roy and you as
Okay.
Devi.
Okay.
And I've just given you कौन कम वक्त है जो बर्दाश्त करने के लिए पीता है मैं तो पीता हूँ कि बस सांस ले सकूं. What would be your interpretation of just up to that point? सांस ले सकूं, up to सांस ले सकूं. I hope you know the
Okay.
lines, or do you want me to repeat, or you know the lines?
I'll just say the lines again. कौन कम वक्त बर्दाश्त करने को पीता है?
कौन
Is
कम
that the
वक्त
line?
है नहीं कौन कम वक्त है जो बर्दाश्त करने के लिए पीता है कौन
कौन
कम
कम वक्त है
वक्त है जो बर्दाश्त करने
बर्दाश्त
के
करने
लिए
के लिए पीता है?
मैं तो पीता हूं कि बस सांस ले सकूं
मैं तो पीती हूँ ताकि सांस ले सकूं.
मैं तो पीती हूं कि बस ताकि नहीं है बस है
बस मैं
okay
तो पीती हूँ
you
कि
don't
बस
have to I'm just kidding with you if you want to say it you can say it you don't have to I'm saying just keep it in mind as an actor it would be an
Oh,
interesting
100%. I
exercise.
feel like, yeah. I mean, definitely. This also reminds me of the time when I took my first theater workshop, and our teacher asked us to prepare a monologue, or whatever of our choice, from a film, from a play, whatever.
This is in
And
LA
everybody, no,
or
this was in Africa.
okay
And the next day, everyone came in prepared. Like after a couple of days, everyone came in prepared this, that. I ended up preparing a monologue done by a male actor from Heather, Shahid
okay
Kapoor's
yeah
monologue, because I didn't find anything great enough or like impactful enough done by a female. Now, that could be my lack of
right
knowledge about like Indian cinema, but I feel like there is a lack of like great female characters where which are not done by Kareena Kapoor in A Jab We Met.
yeah
Because that's what it kind of became a standard where like all the girls in auditions would try to do that kind of character. But I feel like there is a lack of characters done by females which have a lot of depth, which have a lot of pain, a lot of loss, a lot of longing, that feeling. Yeah, I
right
don't know why we don't talk about women's side of the pain when it comes to heartbreak.
okay the last bit of this particular conversation after watching Devdas, do you
Yeah,
think you would consider watching other Dilip Kumar movies? If you do, I think you should look at immediately Madhumati because again, it's the
Madhumati.
same. Yeah, it's the same combination, and it terrific. Some of the greatest songs in Indian cinema history are in that movie. Dilip Kumar was brilliant. So was Jayant, who was, I think, Amjad Khan's father. Superb performance all along. Baijantimala again.
Okay.
But Dilip Kumar was so subtly understated even here. It's a very different character in Madhumati. So that I had mentioned Footpath to you.
Yes,
It's
yeah.
and also try. I mean, there are several. You can see Ramo Sham too because he was superb in that. Ganga Jamna, of course, is an iconic movie. Have you watched it?
I have not.
Try either Ganga Jamna or I mean both. You can do Madhumati and Ganga Jamna is again. I had a long conversation with Dilip Kumar about Ganga Jamna, why it succeeded. He practically directed the film
Oh,
behind the scenes. Yeah. So
yeah.
and finally, you should also watch a movie called Sagina. It's not very
Sagina.
well Sagina. It's a Bengali character, but Dilip Kumar was outstanding in that. So I'll of course send you the names. But left to you, how would you introduce Dilip Kumar to actors of your generation? Because you hobnob with all of them in your theater and theater life too.
Honestly, I feel like if I had to pick actors from that generation or
Mhm.
actors after that generation, actors can relate to him now more than ever because we're going back to the whole subtle acting that
Right,
we've kind of picked from Hollywood in a way.
right,
Or it's picked up because of actors like Irfan Khan and KK Menon, who kind of emote through their eyes more than too much facial movement. And I think Dilip Kumar kind of stands as like the flag bearer of that kind of acting.
Indeed. Yeah.
So I feel like I, as an actor, and people of my generation would completely relate to him now more
Interesting.
than you would relate to him 10 or 15 years ago. Because then everyone was just following Shah Rukh Khan and Salman Khan and,
Yeah.
actors like that. Uh, so yeah, I feel like he would be like a school in himself.